Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending our general membership meeting of March 2022. We'd like to start off the meeting by rising to salute the flag. Please join us. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, folks. Please remain standing for a special moment of silence for all of our fellow folk over in the Ukraine with everything that's going on there. It's just a travesty that's happening to those families. So we want to honor them and respect what they're going through. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry to have to start this meeting on such a somber note. It's just really difficult, when we're struggling in our day-to-day events here, just to see what's going on across the world there, and our hearts go out to all of the Ukrainian folks and their families. We hope that this conflict ends very soon. I'd like to welcome everyone watching on Facebook Live. Really appreciate you being here. This is our general membership meeting that we conduct quarterly, and we're just happy that to be able to spend this time with you, although it be virtual if you're not here, but we do appreciate your attendance anyway. A little bit of housekeeping, folks, for those of you watching via Facebook Live. Please check in the comments. It's the only way we're going to know that you're attending. Your name and your company and store number you work for is what we typically do in every general membership meeting, so that we can properly give you the attendance, or give us the right attendance for you guys attending. Also, it is also your entrance ticket into our raffle at the end of the meeting. So once again, please just tap in on the comment section to let us know who you are, your name, your company, and your store number. Okay? Thank you very much. You can do that at any point during the meeting leading up to the raffle. Also, we will have a question and answer period at the end of the meeting, so please write your questions down in the comment area. We have staff that are monitoring both attendance and monitoring questions. And it's very important for us to answer your questions. When we're here in person, we typically have folks come in before the meeting and questions during the meeting, and especially after the meeting. We have members that stay behind and get their questions out, even if they don't want to ask them in front of folks. Here's a perfect opportunity for you to type in your questions, and we will definitely address each and every one of them in a timely fashion at the end of the meeting. Okay, so this meeting is for you guys. It's for lack of a better word, a State of the Union meeting where we let you know what's been going on. So we're going to move along pretty swiftly tonight, and I'll start my report, and we'll move it on from there to our guest speaker. Okay. Since we last met, we talk about contracts and bargaining. It's been a pretty busy year. In 2020, when the pandemic first hit, we pushed all of our bargaining off into 2021 in hopes that we would be able to, negotiate our contracts then. And then, of course, in 2021, we had contracts for 2020 and 2021 that we had to negotiate. So over the past year and a half, we've negotiated and or ratified about 25 different contracts. So that's quite a bit. And since the last time we met at our general membership meeting, we've been able to ratify Scoturo, Bonadonna ShopRite, Columbus Foods in Manhattan, the Food Bazaar, A&P acquired stores, the 2 stores in Brentwood and in Starrett City in Brooklyn. And that's just since our last general membership meeting. We are still working on Forager's Market, IGA Super Saver out in Amagansett, and Matlin Key Food. We expect to have resolutions with those 3 companies very shortly. within the next few days or so. We mentioned in the past meetings that we are seeking to, or we were seeking to reopen King Cullen negotiations early. We were originally scheduled to expire in December of this year. We still are, but coupled with a number of reasons, Bob Jandovich, their head of HR, Labor Relations, is retiring at the end of March. As a matter of fact, in about 3 weeks, we figured that let's try and sit down with the company.
In April.
In April? Okay. Sit down with the company and see if we can negotiate a deal or an extension, or see what we can just get for our membership before he leaves. You know, we weren't sure at the time who was going to be replacing him. Since then, we have met his replacement, Mr. David Negron, but we had already had the process started, and we started last week with our first session, and we have moved into our second session just this morning. We've given them some proposals along with the committee that volunteered and was selected, and we have had our second session today. The company gave us some counter proposals, and you know what? It's bargaining. It's probably a little too early for me to comment fully on it, but at this point, early in the bargaining, we are very far apart. Okay, so we are working towards a common goal, and we're not going to settle unless our committee is happy and unless we're happy enough to bring a contract to you guys to ratify. Okay. If you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask tonight or ask your rep when you see them in the stores, and we will continue to keep you updated as we go. We do have another session scheduled with King Cullen tomorrow, so we will continue on. We'll get the reps out the information as we go. I just wanted to read a few words because my report is pretty short tonight, but you know, all of these contracts, they culminate in the ratification, as I mentioned before. We've had about 25 ratifications over the past year, and it's not very easy to get to that point. There's so much that goes into it. But I just want to focus my last comments here on ratification day, okay? Because they're probably some of the most nerve-wracking days that I've ever had here on staff. You know, will the membership turn out to vote? Will the membership like the new contract? Will more people vote yes than vote no? These are questions that run through my head the entire ratification leading up to and especially during the ratification when the ballot box is open. You know, will the members that did not sit across from the company at the bargaining table understand what it took to bring that contract to them to the vote? The arguments, the hard feelings, the venting about things that our committee just knows won't change, but they're still upset about it. Looking at their company officials in the eye and demanding more. That's not an easy thing. And I know that we have some folks that may even be watching on a committee that sat with us even today. And you know what? Thank you. That's not an easy thing to do. You know, sometimes our committee folks feel insulted by their very own boss or the people running their company. You wake up early, you go to sleep late. You turn around and you do it again, no matter the weather, no matter what is going on out there. And to sit at the bargaining table and to hear something that is potentially insulting after you've given your heart and soul and blood and sweat and years of your life, that's a difficult thing to do, to sit and bring that back to your members to vote a contract. But will the members come into vote give our staff and the committee members there at the ballot box enough time of day to listen to the changes in their contract? That's an important thing. You know, we always have committee folks and staff at the ballot boxes, and we schedule all of our ratifications with enough time to explain things to folks. And too many times we've seen people either hear rumors or get misguided information and come in and not take the time to listen. Let me hear this out. Let me listen to what your reasoning was or how you came up with this. It's a very important thing. And when the vote is over, they rip open the boxes and certify the count. It's all very nerve-wracking for someone who negotiates the contract. We've done this entire process about 25 times in the past year, as I mentioned. And say it's been an intense year is an understatement. I often tell our staff and our committees that we can negotiate the best contracts anywhere, but if they don't do a good job selling it and explaining it to the voting membership, you guys won't vote for it. You won't know the difference. So, if you've ever sat on a committee alongside me or Ally or any one of our negotiators, chances are you've heard us say to the company that what you're offering is unacceptable because our members will never vote for it. Or something like, you could tell me whatever you want, but I don't get to vote for this contract, the members do. So I have to bring them something that is worthy enough for them to vote. Try again is something that we always say to the company. So I believe that the ratification vote, in a way, starts day one at the bargaining table and not quite at the actual vote. If that's when it starts, you're already behind the eight ball. You've already lost. But thankfully, we've had much success with our ratification votes over the past few years, and we intend on keeping it that way. Something that's very, very dear and important to us, because we know that if you guys ratify the contract, you're happy with it, you're satisfied with it, enough to vote yes for it, and that we did the right thing by you. All of our ratifications have been at least overwhelmingly voted in, with a couple of unanimous ones sprinkled in here and there. So I'd say our staff and negotiating committees are doing a fantastic job there. And when it comes time for you to approach the ballot box yourself, please take a moment to think about your committee member counterpart that went to bat for you and took some of the heat from the company to speak up for you, okay? It's not an easy task. On that note, I'd like to pass it on to our guest speaker of the night. I'm going to pop out of my seat and ask Representative Steve Zeiner to come on up and address it.
Good evening, guys, and thank you for your membership. First, I'll just introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. My name is Steve Zeiner. I'm one of the union representatives. I'm out in Suffolk County. I was a deli manager for about 20 years before I was a union rep. I've been working in the store since I'm 18 years old, and I'm the son of a supermarket worker. And even though he's in a different union, I know he's watching. Hey, Pop. So that's who I am. And I wanted to talk to you guys about a couple of different things tonight. You just heard Executive Vice President Waddy talk about everything that goes into the negotiating these contracts, right? So what does it mean to have a contract? What does it mean to have a collective bargaining agreement? Well, a collective bargaining agreement is a legal document, and it functions as such. Very different than an employee handbook. You get a job at a non-union place, you get an employee handbook, and at the end of each section, there's a cute little sentence that goes something like this. These are designed as guidelines, and we reserve the right to do whatever it is that we want, right? Very different from a collective bargaining agreement. Everything that they're fighting for, everything that gets locked in place in that document, you guys are guaranteed. And that's a big thing, and it means a lot. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that with everybody. And then along those lines, right, I wanted to talk about taking an active role and getting involved, right? I have 25 stores, something like that. I can't be in all places at once. So, if you see something, you should say something. Typically, this is the time of year where they're cutting hours across the board. Slow time after the holidays, this and that. Right back to the contract, right? You guys are contractually entitled to minimum hours every week. And if they cut you past those hours, we can't be in every place at once. If you see something, you should say something. You should approach management and say, I'm under my contractual minimum. And if they don't fix it for you, you should reach out to us. They say, this is something that's said in supermarkets all the time. A manager is only as good as his crew, right? We can only be as effective as you guys make us. You guys communicate to us, you put the bullet in my gun, and then I'll pull the trigger for you. But it's important to take an active role and communicate, and I just kind of wanted to touch on those things with everybody. That's all I got.
We could have a non-violent comparison, though. I mean, just maybe.
A Nerf gun. A Nerf gun. They got to dial me back. But that's all I got, man. Thank you very much.
There is definitely enough violence in the world. We don't need to put guns in union reps' hands, I can tell you that.
Thank you, Steve. Really appreciate that. Great report, and it's a very important one. Get involved, guys. You know what? Too many times our reps walk into stores and either the manager or whoever's in charge of the building doesn't expect us to be there. And you know what? You know who I'm talking to, and you know what's going on there. They're doing the wrong thing. We can't be everywhere at once. All right, you know, we have 17,000 members in hundreds and hundreds of stores out there, and you know, you guys are our eyes and ears out there. It's very important. Make sure that the right thing is being done by the membership out there. Just call us; we'll come running. Thanks again, Steve. I'd like to now introduce our Secretary Treasurer, Ali Wadi.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you, Steve, for that really important message. I will say that I can attest to the fact that I don't believe we could really dial you back. I know that we've tried a couple of times, but keep doing what you're doing, and you guys should listen to him, because if there's one thing that I know is that the enforcement vehicle in any situation is what really matters, and you're part of that vehicle. The union does not function without your input, and we'd like you guys to be happy. So let us know what it is that makes you happy. I have a few things that I'd like to start with. I always focus on the staff update, as you guys know. In this case, no, we're not asking for any resumes right now, but I will tell you that the people that we have hired recently are doing very nicely. I wanted to report back and just let you know that we did hire a bookkeeper. His name is Nick B. Pat. So Pat P., most of you do not know her. She is our bookkeeper. She is going to be retiring after over 20 years with us, and he will be replacing her. I can already tell you that Nick has acclimated to our team very well. He is taking on a role that we were hoping to fill, and we will continue to grow that role, and we see a lot of potential there. So welcome, Nick, to the team. We're happy to have you. Next up, I would like to welcome our newest membership servicing representative, Onassis Abundis Arceta. Onassis comes to us from Food Bazaar. We are also very happy to have you. Onassis has been a long-term member. He was previously with Fairway, and if he could actually pop in maybe just to wave.
Come on, right around here. Bring it on this side of me, right here. Onassis, right there.
Stand up on us. Oh, wait, he is. I kid. He's the new guy.
Oh, man. You really can't take us.
All right, don't worry. Eka, come stand next to Allie. It was too easy.
So, welcome, Onassis. We're really happy to have you. If you do see him in the stores, please also welcome him to our union family. On a different note, I wanted to mention that Stephanie Andrade, if she's watching, hello, Stephanie and baby.
Hey, Giannis.
And also Wendy Punzo, who also is not with us tonight. They're both actually away because they're out on maternity leave. So we wanted to let you guys know that our union family grew, and we also wanted to welcome their babies into our union family. So congratulations to all. In addition, moving on to some different business, I wanted to report to you that Zach Levitan, who I believe did get an introduction last meeting, and if you haven't met him, he's a very dynamic individual who works.
You want to come pop
Yes,
behind
come
Joe?
on.
Come on.
Right over here, right over here.
There's Zach. Zach,
Zach,
everyone.
everyone.
That's new haircut, Zach, though.
That's right. So if you met Zach earlier in his career at Local 1500, his hair looked a little bit differently. So freshly haircut and all. Zach has been visiting our stores, meeting our members, making sure that he is definitely touching base with you guys, talking about the agenda that the local has for politics. You know, politics is a very difficult topic to talk about, not just in the current climate, but I think overall it has always been. It has gotten more difficult in the last few years, but the one thing that we know is that our union wants to be a presence, and we want to make sure that everyone is taken into account what our members stand for and what they want to see legislatively. So Zach's job is a very difficult one, because not only will he be engaging with Democrats, which I think a lot of people jump to that assumption, but also with Republicans and with every party and with anyone that's running for government and is trying to make a change for the positive. As long as you're trying to make a change for the positive to our members, we'll definitely stand behind you. If you're trying to stand in the way of our members, you'll definitely not find a friend at Local 1500. So if you're an elected official and you are listening to this, just make sure that you are thinking about essential workers, and that essential workers don't go from heroes to zeros in no time flat. Our members need to continue to be recognized. Our members are people that kept us through a pandemic. Our members are the people that will continue to keep us through any catastrophe that happens. If you look at what's happening in the Ukraine, supermarkets are open, just like here. It's almost like you didn't realize what you signed up for when you started working at a supermarket. And that's something that our union will not forget. And it's also something our union will not let anyone else forget. So thank you, Zach, for the work that you're doing. And please help him out if you see him out there in the stores. Moving on to some other business politically, I wanted to let you know that most recently the union had a chance to meet with the governor and also with the mayor of our city and our state, respectively. What I can tell you about those meetings is that it's very difficult to get FaceTime with elected officials in those ranks. And whether you support them or not, what I will tell you is that we covered every issue that we could possibly cover. And the same conversation that we're having with you tonight, we're having with them in person. We're holding everyone accountable because we feel that it doesn't really matter what position you hold, or if you're an incumbent, or if you continue to hold office, or if you held office before and you came back. The message is very simple. Our members matter. They'll always continue to matter. And we will definitely be knocking on your door as Zach continues to move through this legislative process. And we will be going back to in-person meetings. So lobbying in person or even lobbying virtually will be something that we want you guys to participate in. So we're looking forward to those events opening up again. Did you want to say something? No.
Not till you're done. I know when to speak.
There's also something really exciting happening at our union that we wanted to share with you. We're looking for interns. We're looking for people like yourselves, people in the community, people that are like-minded, to work in supermarkets, to work in, with elected officials, to work in the community, to also spread the word of the union. If you're interested in potentially participating in an internship, or you know someone that you believe is a good fit for us, you can always call us. You could reach out to us. You could drop an email at unionjobs@ufcw1500.org, and we'll put this up in the comments in the back. Please make sure that happens. We want to make sure that everyone's represented, and we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to participate in that as well.
Salud.
Do you mind showing the shop steward gift?
We go behind you.
Yeah. Paul Santarpia is going to actually come behind me right now and show you guys for this year. The shop steward gift is the jacket that Mr. Santarpia is showing. And if you are a shop steward, that will be the gift that you will be receiving.
Later in the year.
Later in the year, Rob will cover those details later during his presentation. I'll get into some more serious business. I wanted to talk about shoplifting in the stores. Right now, there's an influx of violence everywhere. There are a lot of situations that are going on that are definitely very scary and alarming. They're putting a lot of items behind the counter for a reason. We know that there are a lot of smash and grabs going on for our members, and honestly, this came out of a conversation with a member recently. We're asking you guys not to get involved. please don't put yourselves in danger. This is not worth it. It's not the job that you hold. It's not something that you should be tasked to do. If someone asks you to do it, you should definitely feel uncomfortable about it. Not only can you get hurt, not only can you get in trouble for it, because you can, the person that you try to intercept can actually file some legal action against you. So we would ask you to please not get involved. And if you have any questions about that, do as Steve said. Just call your rep, get involved, talk to management. Just don't get involved in the shoplifting. And I'm going to move into, I guess, a segment that's a little bit more a part of what I wrote about in the newspaper this time around, this cycle, in The Advocate. And, I'm sure that everyone is aware that if you've tried to buy a vehicle, you tried to purchase a home, or you simply just tried to put some gas in your car, prices right now are at a premium. You can't really go anywhere without worrying about what something costs. Most recently, there was an article in the Supermarket News about the price of meat, and it caught my attention because obviously it's something that you all sell in the stores. But you know what? Also, you should consider that you're also at a premium. Have you heard how jobs can't be replaced? Your companies can't hire people. They have signs at the door, I would say basically everywhere, and positions to go around for anyone and everyone. People are leaving jobs. A lot of people talk about the job market right now and the fact that they can't find anyone. Some of us, I think in the beginning, thought that it was because of the unemployment and services or benefits, I should say. But the reality is that people are moving from one job to another because they just can't. And if we're really looking at what's going on, the time is now. The time is our time. And whether you're talking about the Great Resignation or, the Great Retirement, people have fled from these jobs, not just because of the pandemic, but because they don't have to stand for poor wages or poor working conditions. And if you're an employer and you're considering keeping things status quo, the reality is that you're not going to be able to do business that way. And if you're going to complain about job retention and not do anything about it, then maybe you should consider giving these workers a better offer, because they do deserve it. And with the influx of minimum wage being a higher rate, and we all know what that did, not to say that we could have changed it or we could have done anything, because elected officials were so committed to giving people a higher wage. And I get that, I understand that. But similar in that vein, those elected officials don't think about what it does to the whole job market. And that's where your union comes in. We want you guys to communicate with us and to let us know. Right now, we're bargaining with a few set of employers that are left. But don't be misled. We're bargaining every single day. Whether your rep shows up and they're trying to resolve a situation in your store that would normally have to wait until 5 years, 3 years, 2 years, or whatever the course of the contract was. Don't wait until then. If the message to you isn't simple enough, that if you're not keeping your eyes open and you're not taking part of this bargaining, whether it's here at the table or the enforcement of your union contract, then I think we're really missing a point. And I think that Steve's point's really valid, that we really truly are only as good as our members make us. So let's keep them accountable, and let's keep working together to build a better union. I just want to close with one thing. A lot of things happen at our union, and some of them are to be celebrated, some of them are not to be celebrated. Sometimes we have some sad news that we bring to you guys, and I am extremely lucky at this point that I get to talk to you about something that not only is really important and monumental, but it's an extreme benefit to our union. Our president wakes up every morning thinking about this union. He goes to bed every morning thinking about this union.
Every morning.
every night. I don't really think that I need to explain that to anyone, how dedicated he is and he continues to be. He was that same cart boy from Pathmark that came here, and I think has always kept that passion and that reality and humility about himself. And I don't believe that he'll ever change for a moment, no matter what he becomes. Most recently in February, Rob was appointed as an international vice president of the International Union. And I choke at saying it because it is such an honor for us to have him leading the way. And for you all Facebookies out there, I'm sure that you saw that post. But I just really want to emphasize how important that is, because it's not just something that goes on your business card. It's something that he will hold very close and near and dear to his heart. And I know that he will do a great job to represent our union, not only locally, but internationally in the U.S. and in Canada. So congratulations to you, Rob.
Thank you. Does that conclude your report?
The floor is yours.
All right. So Chuck Howard already texted me to tell me that I don't have to speak so loud because it distorts the mic, so thank you for that, Chuck. Yeah, it was a really special opportunity for me to be able to get on the International Executive Board. This local has had international vice presidents before, President Both, President Meehan, and I'm quite sure even prior to that, President Wilson, I believe, were all international vice presidents. I'm very happy and honored to get the opportunity that they had, and I'll do everything I can, no different than I would every day here, to ensure that the membership in this union, all of your best interests and everything that we need to continue to better the lives of working people, especially in the state of New York, are absolutely upheld and fulfilled. So it's an honor and it's a massive opportunity, and I'm sure there'll be good days and bad, no different than any other job or assignment I've taken on. But I'm just very proud that I got the ability to bring that seat back to our local and back to our membership. So this evening, our executive board gave me a gift that probably trumps every gift I've ever been given for a promotional opportunity or an award in the job. They actually gave me a plaque with their signatures engraved in at the bottom, burned into the wood, and that's, this is something that I share with our rank and file executive board as much as with our staff and the balance of our membership. But the fact that they've been there through my presidency and our leadership team and got us all elected in the process just means the absolute world to me. So to our 10 rank and file BPs, thank you very much. You almost choked me up, but thankfully, if I'm going to throw anybody under the bus, I'll throw Lynn under the bus. She sniffed something out was coming, and I heard her say it, so it gave me a little whisper, and I was able to kind of take a deep breath before they walked in the room with the plaque. So thank you all very, very much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. So let me get started the right way. Happy early birthday to my daughter, who turns 16 tomorrow. Allie Rose, happy birthday. Stop trying to kill your father. Stop growing up. I love you to death, and enjoy your day tomorrow. Jimmy McCullough from Pickwick, retired store manager. I saw you pop by. I can actually see a little bit on the screen in front of me. I got your congratulations card. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Considering how much time we spent together a long time ago, it was very, very moving to get that card from you. So thank you. I think it would be more than appropriate to honor and thank the 5 local unions up in the New England area, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, I think even maybe part of New Hampshire. So congratulations to Local 328, 371, 919, 1445, and 1459. They successfully not only negotiated but then overwhelmingly ratified their new Stop and Shop contract up in that area. If you recall, this, I believe, is a 4-year contract. If you recall, 3 years ago, they had an 11-day strike that went through Easter Sunday, and I assure you that's not something that those employers nor the membership and the locals wanted to repeat. Thank God this settlement was reached. They did a great job. They were able to work together, and they did a lot of back work as it relates to their pension and welfare funds, and all of those things paid dividends for those locals and their members. So congratulations on a 4-year agreement. To Dominic, Ronnie, Mark, Fernando, and Jeff Jones, cooperative bargaining and working together is not an easy task. It's not something that we've ever had to do here at 1500 unless it was in a bankruptcy situation or a liquidation situation. And I know how difficult it can be, and the fact that you managed to stick together again and bring home such a solid deal is really a testament to all of your leadership. So God bless you. Thank you very much, and good luck enforcing that contract over the next 4 years. Enjoy it. So yesterday was International Women's Day, and as much as I like to write little speeches, our president, International President Mark Perone, sent an email out, and quite frankly, I can't say it any better. So I'm going to plagiarize Mark's entire email because I think it's absolutely appropriate. Every year, March is designated as Women's History Month. It provides an opportunity to honor the generations of women who have built our nation, shaped our progress, and strengthened our character as a people. Additionally, the month also encompasses International Women's Day, March 8th. We celebrate the economic, political, and social achievements of women. This year's Women's History Month theme, Women Providing Healing, Promoting Hope, honors caregivers and our very own frontline workers. Despite decades of progress, we know that too many women still aren't enjoying equity at the work, and women of color in particular, are overrepresented in jobs with low wages and fewer benefits. Even with specific industries and jobs, gender and racial gaps persist. As we celebrate Women's History Month, we celebrate the progress that women have made, reflect on the current status of working women in America, and recognize the work that remains to be done. Here are some interesting facts about working women. Women are critical to the American economy. They account for 46.8% of the labor force, 76.6 million in all. 40.5% of women are the primary or co-breadwinner of their families. Nearly 1 in 10 women workers are in a union, about 6.5 million, accounting for 46.3% of all union workers in America. Women have been disproportionately affected by the pandemic. The unemployment rate for women 20 and older is currently 3.6%, down from a peak of 15.5% in April of 2020. But still higher than it was in the months leading up to the pandemic. For women of color in particular, the recovery has been even slower. In January of 2022, the unemployment rate for black women was 5.8%, and for Hispanic women was 4.9%. Women have made major strides over the past century, but there is certainly still room to grow. Women have made more job options now than they did 100 years ago. Women have more job options than they did 100 years ago when they accounted for only 20% of the labor force, but they were largely concentrated in domestic and personal service, clerical occupations, and teaching. The Equal Pay Act made it illegal to pay women less for the same work nearly 60 years ago, but yet the pay gap still exists, and today women earn about 83 cents to every dollar earned by a man. Existing leave policies don't meet the needs of today's working families, and only 23% of private sector workers have paid family leave from their employer for things like caring for an ill loved one. Among the lowest wage workers, who are predominantly women and workers of color, access to paid family leave is even lower. Despite the advances women have made in the workforce, we still have far to go to reach equity in wages, access to good jobs, and benefits that allow women to support their families. And this is particularly true, again, with women of color. The UFCW is working towards this goal in multiple ways by advocating for paid leave and educating women workers on how to advocate for themselves. As the country continues to recover from the shock of the pandemic, we are committed to build back the economy better than it was before. For all workers, especially those who have traditionally been underrepresented and undervalued. Thank you, President Perone. As I said, I could not have thought of any better words to use to honor International Women's Day, and I want to personally thank and honor all the female members of Local 1500. So thank you very much. So Paul showed you the pending shop steward gift for 2022. We may do the shop steward seminar early this year. Typically we did a May or an October. We may split the difference and try to hit something in the middle of the summer. You know, a lot of reasons we didn't do seminars in person in the summer, a lot of vacations. I think the workplace is very different, certainly for our membership, and because it's going to be virtual, I think we have a little bit more freedom and a little bit more ability to do it at a different time of year. Quite frankly, we've become far too capable
as it relates to running Zooms or large meetings on a virtual platform. So I don't think we're going to do two or three virtual shop steward seminars, forgive me. I think we may try to take a run at it and do one. It may be a little bit longer, that's for sure. But at the end of the day, it will save our staff from being locked down for 3 days. It'll save our union a little bit from an administrative perspective as well. So keep your eyes and ears open. Obviously, when we schedule the date, your reps will get in touch with you. You're their first line of defense. So if they don't tell you when the seminar is, I'm sure you'll reach out to them and get even. Let me give you a little bit of an update. In December, and I believe even last September, we talked about the Amazon Fresh sites that are coming up in our area. There are currently 6. Again, I remind you, there's one in Staten Island. I believe it's on Highland Boulevard. East Setauket on Route 347, Plainview on Minetto Hill Road in the former Fairway location, Oceanside, New York in the former Wallbombs location, Paramus, New Jersey, and Woodland Park, both former Fairway locations. All of the exteriors and the facades are finished, and there are different levels of completion as it relates to the interior. There are from very low stage to tags and point of sale information being posted in those stores. These stores are going to hit our jurisdiction, and they're going to hit it pretty quickly. In many cases, we would send our organizers out to try to do what they do best. But at the end of the day, these stores are designed to have very little labor in them, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult. We want to ensure that this, just walkout technology, which in certain neighborhoods exists already without going through a register, we're very intrigued to see how its impact is, not only in the areas that it's in, but there's a lot of potential for these softwares and these technologies to be licensed out to other companies. We're seeing it already in a variety of places. So what happens here, the success or failure of these stores is going to absolutely have an impact on how many follow it. Our reps do weekly reports. They take photos. They take absolute surveillance over all the sites. And they may be asking for you to come and get jobs in those locations. So if you get that call, your union needs you. You have the quality of help necessary to be in those positions. They're going to be looking for people that know what they're doing. But at the end of the day, we need to be on top of these situations to make sure that we have a competitive advantage when they do open their doors. So please be ready to help if we call. Additionally, we're dealing with the perspective of an enormous Wegmans coming in Manhattan in 2023. As a matter of fact, the Wegmans deal at Astor Place was the largest real estate transaction in 2021 in Manhattan. So, and I guess that's an independent thing. I don't exactly consider myself a real estate expert, but we need to be aware of it. It's going to have a massive impact on our stores. Wegmans is an employer that gets a lot of credit for being a great employer, but I could get credit for being a great employer too if I buy enough ad space in a couple of industry magazines. At the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. Do those workers have packages that resemble the workers that we represent? Do they have access to the health care that the company alleges is available? Is it affordable based on what they pay? Is it a safe working condition? I mean, all those things are subject to everyone's independent or individual opinion. I would tell you from the perspective of our union that the fact is absolutely not. And if they're allowed to operate in the same space as our employers, they're going to eat into the gross profit, which then impacts our members' schedule and our ability to negotiate better benefits and contracts going forward. So we're going to have a very aggressive campaign against this store. From our perspective, we want to welcome them into the local 1,500 family. We're not looking to put them out of business, but if they become a competitive disadvantage to our employers and they impact our members' wallets, then we have to use every aspect at our disposal, including our political allies and all of our community assets and our membership, to try to impact them in a manner where they understand that if they want to continue to do business in the city of New York, they need to do it in a union capacity. So we do have a little bit of lead time going into this, but you can't wait till the very end. This is a massive undertaking that's going to be a fortune in renovations to a former multi-level Kmart in Manhattan. So be aware, obviously, Fred Walter and the rest of the reps that deal with New York City are going to be on center stage with those members. So be prepared. They're going to be coming to talk to you. So our wonderful mayor has now released the mask mandates in New York City, which is great. I'm sure it's a little bit of relief to a lot of our members who have been wearing a mask for over 2 years on the job. But what he didn't do was release the vaccination requirement for the membership, not just our membership, but all workers in the city of New York. Look, it's easy to second-guess decisions that are made by a principal. People second-guess my decisions all day. There's probably a few staff members in this room questioning something I did or said already. The fact remains, though, that it's an unlevel playing field. So, Mayor Adams, if for some reason you're watching, having a customer who doesn't have to be vaccinated and now is unmasked in our stores and having them have the potential to spread that virus to our members, but restricting our members unless they're vaccinated, is not how you're supposed to lead. It's not a fair situation. We have dozens of members out there that for their own choice have not been vaccinated, and at this point in time, not changing that restriction is keeping them from going back to work. It's keeping them from being able to provide for their families. And if you're going to make those restrictions released, or you're going to release those restrictions from a customer, you should at least be able to release those for workers in New York City. This is not a personal opinion, it's just fairness, and you can't put our members or hold our members or retail workers to a higher standard than you're going to hold the customers you're going to allow in those buildings. That's the opinion of this union, and hopefully you change your mind and allow our workers to get back to work regardless of their vaccination status. So we've talked the last couple of meetings about translating our contracts into Spanish, and no good deed is easy. We've run into some difficulties. A lot of our Spanish-speaking membership has come to understand some parts of their contract and their work rules in using the English words. And when you translate all of the English words into Spanish, it can actually now create some degree of confusion that wasn't there before. We are almost home with the Stop and Shop contract. There's a few details left that need to be ironed out. Once that's done, it'll go to the printer to be typeset, and that'll be the first book that comes out. For our former traditional Fairway, now Village Fairway folks and the Village PDC folks, your contract in English is signed. It is official. Your reps all have it. They can airdrop it to you, text it to you, email it to you. I try not to print them just because we want to save trees and save cut on expenses with printing. But those contracts have also been sent to the translator. Once they are translated, they will come back, get typeset, they'll be reviewed. Getting the first major contract done in Spanish at a point where we feel it's going to be beneficial to the membership is the biggest hurdle. That was Stop and Shop. Your contracts will follow suit. Just for our members out there who have recently had settlements, Mandel, you should be aware your contract is at the printer. Wild by Nature, your contract is at the printer. Scutoro, your settlement was just recent, but because it's done in-house, your contract is already printed, and I believe Juan Guardado will have those out in the stores tomorrow and Friday. As I said, Fairway and Fairway PDC. Fairway PDC is one step behind the Fairway stores. The Fairway PDC English is not back yet from the printer. And 5-in-1 Key Food, we're trying to track down your owner so he'll sign the official contract. So if there's any 5-in-1 folks on here, give Paul Santopia a call the next time Alan's in the store so we can get him to sign off. He's a little cagey from time to time. I'm going to change, actually, before I change topics on that, I will say I saw someone pop across asking for an update on Pickwick negotiations. I would think that after the King Cullen negotiations are over, we're going to make every attempt to get back into Pickwick, probably sometime in April, if I had to guess. But keep in mind, the sessions that Ally, Joe, and the negotiating committee went through with Pickwick in 2021 were not yielding a lot of progress and a lot of benefit. So that's the reason we kind of put that contract and those bargaining sessions on the side and moved forward with a number of other companies. If you've listened to Joe's presentation for the last couple of meetings, I think we've settled 21 contracts since we moved Pickwick to the side. So we have every intention of trying to get back to that contract in April, but quite frankly, I was concerned, and I believe so were they, that there just wasn't enough progress being made. At this point in time now, we have 21 points of reference to use with the Pickwick Company in terms of what we feel is a potential possible settlement or what would be an acceptable settlement based on the industry standards around it. There was definitely some intent in not letting the tail wag the dog. So we intend to get back to them as soon as possible. We understand that you're probably a little anxious and probably unhappy with the delay, and I respect that opinion. But at the end of the day, I think we've negotiated settlements for more than 12,000 local 1,500 members in the last year or so. So we want to try to take those settlements to the folks at Pickwick as well. One of the biggest costs that we have in your contract is the health and welfare plan. And whether it's the full-time plan, the special part-time plan, the ACA part-time plan, or just the traditional ancillary part-time plan, all of them have exponential increase in costs year over year. And we do everything we can to negotiate the best rates with Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, with your pharmacy benefit manager, with any and all of the administrative pieces of the fund, mail-away drug, dental, vision. We constantly recost out the life insurance and the membership assistance program. But some of these things require you to participate for the fund to actually gain the savings that we think it's going to when we agree to these new programs. So I've spoken before about Livongo, and I've spoken, I think, once before about Save On. And I would tell you that the results, the enrollment, the follow-through, the completion on these programs has been less than stellar. So you're going to start to get outreach from our welfare fund offices, and you may get a tickle here or there from one of the people on our staff to get involved with these programs. And the reason I tell you that is Livongo, as a perfect example, is for diabetes. It gives everyone who has that medical condition an opportunity to save money out of pocket, whether it be on strips, on the meters. There are a number of benefits to a member with diabetes enrolling in and pursuing the Livongo program. Right now, we have just under 500 members, covered members, that are eligible to be involved in that program. Just over 100 are enrolled, and only 68 have gone the full process. That's just foolish. It's foolish on behalf of yourself because you're spending more money than you need to, and equally, if not more important, it's driving the cost in the welfare fund higher than it needs to be. Save On is a copay assistance program for specialty drugs. Just so you understand, in 2020, your welfare fund paid out over $10 million, $10.1 million in prescription drug costs. In 2020, that was in 2020. In 2021, that number went to $10.7 million. It was just under a 5.5% increase year over year, and 55% of that money was spent on specialty drugs. Whether it's all the drugs you see on television, because they don't advertise all day, all night because they're inexpensive, or it's these new injectable drugs for cancers and inflammatory diseases, they are draining the fund. You have a handful of prescriptions that cost as much as thousands of regular everyday prescriptions. There are no generic alternatives to those specialty medications. And the Save On copay assistance program will not only eliminate your out-of-pocket if you're on one of those drugs, it'll also dramatically reduce the impact and the cost for the fund. There's no reason not to engage with these programs. No, we can't force you to do it, and no, I'm not looking to create a carrot-stick environment. But I am trying to tell you that if you can put more money out of your pocket, put less money, out of pocket, especially in a time where we're dealing with incredible gas prices and inflation on everything from peanut butter to a matchstick, it does not make sense not to do that. And for us to try to control those costs, we need your participation. We need you to sign on. The trustee meeting yesterday, we believe we're going to start to do some additional outreach to our members just to try to drive you towards things that are going to benefit both you and the fund going forward. If you don't understand this, or if you're concerned that this is going to create something that's going to create a disadvantage for your family, I encourage you to call us. Don't go after your reps in the stores. Don't bust the service reps' chops. Call me, call Allie, call Joe, call Paul. This is something we do as trustees to the fund. We have the specifics. We'll be glad to help you. If you're uncomfortable talking to us, we'll get somebody from Associated Administrators, the third-party administrator that takes care of your benefit fund, or we'll get somebody from ARIA Benefit Solutions, who's the consultant to the fund, to reach out to you. I'm not looking to get into anybody's personal health information. Trust me, I got enough of my own situations. But if we can help you save money and save money with the fund, get you the best treatment possible, that's a win all the way around. So it's something that we're going to be a little annoying about, because the only way for us to control the cost is if you participate. We can negotiate the best deals in the world, and we can find all the best programs. Without your participation, it's all useless. Just so you know, based on yesterday's meeting, we are still in the top quartile as it relates to total expenses in our welfare fund from COVID. We got hit early on pretty heavy with a bunch of very, very significant hospitalization claims. Tariq's sitting right in front of me yawning. I'm putting him to sleep. I hope I'm not killing the almost 200 of you on the Facebook Live. But it's something we were hoping would balance out over the 2-year period. It hasn't. We had another $330,000 COVID claim on a full-time member 2 weeks ago, that finally hit the bill. and today we had a $1.4 million welfare bill for the week. So I can tell you that these expenses are very difficult, but they're necessary. They've kept everyone alive. We haven't suffered a member loss from COVID in just about 18 months, if my numbers are right. And not to make light of the 11 members that we did lose in COVID, but I think the fact that our members have access to the type of medical care that we're able to provide through your contracts gives a lot of our members a fighting chance. So we're doing everything we can so that we don't have to increase out of pocket for the member or make changes to the fund, which would have a negative impact. Anytime we change one thing on the fund to the negative, we get 40 or 50 angry emails, even though it may make sense from a fiscal perspective. So we want to try to avoid that. During the December meeting, I talked about Fresh Direct and the fact that the UFCW had negotiated a neutrality agreement and that we'd filed a jurisdictional claim. Unfortunately, Local 1500 was not successful in that jurisdictional claim. It is still with the UFCW. Local 342 was awarded Fresh Direct wall to wall. So we wish them luck negotiating their first contract at Fresh Direct and representing those people. As much as it's an individually difficult situation for us, it's still a great situation for the UFCW. 1,800 new full-time members, especially in the city of New York, enrolled in the UFCW's membership program is a fantastic thing, and we want to welcome them to the UFCW family. As we've talked about the number of settlements, it's not lost on me, and I hope it's not lost on you, that in the last number of months, there's been 3 UFCW strikes against the Kroger easy for me to say, 3 UFCW strikes against the Kroger company in Houston, in Portland, and in Denver. All of those strikes were different lengths, and they all had different issues at the table. But I'm really proud that we've been able to avoid those situations here in New York, especially in some of these negotiations with independent owners, where they can get a little bit more personal, a little bit more contentious at the table than you can with a multinational corporation or a non-privately owned company. But I got to be honest, it seems to be the way workers are looking at things now. Workers are a lot less afraid to strike than they were before. And as much as we don't have any desire to have our members on the street, I got to be honest, I think companies right now are forced to address the membership, to Ally's point, a little bit differently than you did before. I think they have to value you differently than they did before. And if we have an employer that won't assess that value properly, your right is to reject their last, best, and final offer, and your right is to strike. I would hope that we can get through this last couple of contracts without having that type of an issue. But I assure you, our membership and certainly our staff is prepared if that time comes. We spoke with our executive board, and we're going to put another $1 million in the strike fund. If you recall, prior to Stop and Shop negotiations, we put an additional $1 million in. This will move our strike fund up to $5 million. It's been $3 million, I think, since Jimmy Carter was president. And in 2020, we put $1 million into the strike fund, and we're going to put another $1 million in the strike fund in 2022. Either way, we want to make sure that if there is a situation that we're more than prepared for it. On a positive note, the pension fund closed 2021 with an 11.76% return. Some of you may be sitting there saying, well, that's not a big number. There were some huge numbers across the country, and there were. But we're in a structured volatility protection program as it relates to, or structured volatility model as far as the pension fund's investments. And that's something that we had to do for 2 big reasons. One, Stop and Shop's withdrawal from the fund put $113 million in overnight, and there's another $113 million coming in the next 12 months, or 18 months, forgive me. And you just can't push all that money in the middle. If you've looked at anything that's occurred over the last 2 months since between inflation and now the war in Ukraine, there's been a 7 or 8% drop in the market. The market can swing thousands of points between 2 or 3 days. And we've had members over the years tell us, well, we should have all our money in Amazon. We should have all our money in Google. We should have all our money in Facebook. We should have all our money in Apple. Had we had that, we would have gotten crushed. But we have a lot more downside protection in the structured volatility model with our investment consultants. And the other reason we do that is because we have a credit balance issue, not a funding issue. And very simply put, a credit balance issue means that we have more people headed towards retirement than we have coming through the door with retirement contributions on a monthly basis. So a healthy credit balance kind of looks like a bent U, a little stretched out. Ours looks more like a jump off a cliff. So everything we do to manage the pension fund's overall finances keeps the credit balance issue we have in the back of our mind. That's the way we keep out of the red zone and away from benefit reductions or premiums being charged to your employers on a monthly basis. So there's a second good return for us in a row. It certainly goes a long way to stabilizing the pension fund, not only in the short term, but out over the next 25 or 30 years. You know, we had a really difficult situation in Castle Center this week. There was an armed robbery in the Castle Center shop, Stop and Shop, forgive me. And the only reason I want to talk about it is it's unavoidable. There's been tons of organized retail theft and smash and grabs, a lot of what Ali was talking about. We saw it going all the way back to the days following the George Floyd murder. But, you know, there's an immediate outcry for armed security and armed guards at the doors of these stores. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I probably wouldn't feel exactly the same if I was in those stores. But if the armed security isn't properly trained, if the armed security isn't potentially off-duty law enforcement, you run the risk of having a cowboy at your front door, or I don't know if it's a cowgirl, but you run the risk of having a very difficult situation, because an armed guard at the door face down with an armed robbery is more than likely going to draw their weapon. And as bad as this situation was in Castle Center, and to all the members that were involved in that, from the bottom of my heart, I'm very sorry that you were put in that situation. And I know that our reps got to the scene as quickly as they could, and they've got the employee assistance program there. Long Island Council's been on site. But just think about how horrifically that situation could have been if another gun had been drawn on the scene. I shudder at the thought that, you know, dozens of people could have been hurt or killed, especially if there was a shootout on the front end of the store. I mean, look, let's face it, there isn't enough cashiers in any store. So think about the crowds that would have been on the front end when that went down. You know, to be the representative and to have to say that I worry. I worry about the presence of more weapons in our stores, if not in the right hands or in trained hands. But I don't believe that I have the solution, and I think that we're going to continue to try to work with all of our employers to provide you the safest possible environment we can when you punch in. You deserve to go home in the same condition that you reported to work that day. You know, for some of our younger members, you know, sometimes you're dragging ass to get in there because you were out late the night before, but you still have a right to go home safely no matter what. And I don't think anybody wants a gun put in their face. I don't think anybody wants to be put in a situation where they think their life is on the line. Our members are essential, but I don't believe that any one of them signed up to put their life on the line when they agreed to work in a supermarket. So we're going to continue to try to work through that situation as best we can. I do not have an answer as I sit here with you today, not by any stretch. Our answer is always going to be to try to find the most palatable, safest solution while trying not to have a group of members be angry and feel as if we're not representing them. So again, I apologize that situation occurred in your store, and I hope that it doesn't become a little bit of an epidemic, because unfortunately in our business we've seen it. When it happens once or twice in an area, it tends to spread for a little while before the police can get their hands on it. And maybe in this case, even though this person, I believe, is still at large, maybe they have a beat on it and they can get it cut off before it grows any further in our industry. So that concludes my report for the evening. I'll say thank you. I know there may or may not be some questions. I've seen a couple flicker across the screen. But how do you want to go? You want to do the raffle first, or you want to try to go into the Q&A?
Q&A?
All right, Q&A. So somebody give me the Q, and I'll do my best to A. Oh, I love it. I'm watching the two that have the questions scramble in the back of the room. Here we go. It's going to you?
I'm waiting for him.
It's going to me. Oh, here we go. All right. I have the questions. Yeah, I saw Gus asked about 46. Gus, there's only about 3 or 4 here from you, so they must have, they're editing your questions. All right. Joanne Adler Sinovi. I want to see a retirement club in Manhattan. Long Island is too far. I've called and no one cares. Well, Joanne, to have an active retirement chapter in Manhattan, we would need to have enough active members in the retirement club And then we would need someone to establish, set up, and run the club. So it's not that no one cares, but the reality is without a group of people that are willing to get together and do it, that's how the Suffolk County Club started. Former union representative Bob Funk got together with a group of people he used to represent on the East End in Suffolk County, and that's how the second chapter started. This local has always had one club. It used to be in Queens Village when that's where our office was, and it moved to Nassau County when we moved here. I'm sorry that you think no one cares. That's not the truth. It's just a matter of trying to put a club together. One person does not make a club, and we still need someone to run it. Dawn Brander, what about gas money for the people because of gas prices going up? Dawn, I'm pretty sure that every one of our contracts has travel pay in the contract. That being said, no matter what the travel pay is in that contract, it was not negotiated to be prepared for a situation like this. There is no escalator in any of our contracts. Some are based on dollars per day. Some are based on the IRS travel pay rate. No matter what, if they are based on a higher IRS rate, they typically have a minimum number of miles you must travel. It's based on a home store. It's a little bit different than just gas money for the people. Although as much as I know it would make me a very popular person if I sent our reps out to give out gas cards, it's just not something that we can do from a union perspective. I will tell you that my intent is to start reaching out to all of the employers if gas prices continue to stay at these levels to try to reopen the contract and renegotiate. Considering how difficult some negotiations go and most of your contracts were just negotiated, I think it's going to be a little bit more of a difficult process, but it's something that it doesn't really matter how difficult it is, it's something I'm going to try to do. It's not going to be because we didn't try, it's going to be because we couldn't get your employer to do it if it doesn't happen. So I appreciate your feeling and your question. Linda Milton, can we bargain a rate increase equivalent to the increase in minimum wage as well as increases to the term of the contract? Well, we've covered this multiple times, and Linda, I do know you, so hello, long time no see. If you consider that New York City had wage increases in the minimum wage of $6 in 2 years and exactly 1 day, that would mean that you would think we were going to be able to negotiate $12 in 2 years and 1 day. If I could do that, I would be probably president of the United States, not just president of Local 1500. And I'm not trying to make light of your question. I get how bad compression feels. It's happened across the sheet. When the Fairway Company went bankrupt, there was less than 6% of the membership that was above the minimum wage at that time in 2020, and it was all because of the amount of dollars that came through in minimum wage. Ally did focus on it before. A lot of good deeds done or attempted to be done by elected officials have negative impact or unforeseen circumstances, especially in union shops. They create an undue work environment or an undue competitive environment for our employers because our employers don't just pay your wages. They make contributions to your health and welfare funds. They make contributions to your retirement funds. They make contributions to a legal service fund. They provide an inordinate amount more paid time off than any non-union employer in the industry does. So these are very difficult circumstances. They're very difficult situations. But Linda, I don't have any ability in the world to get an employer to justify giving $10 or $12 in increases over a 3 or 4 year period of time. As much as you may not like that answer, I have to be honest with you. I could promise you the sun, the moon, and the stars, but when they don't get delivered, you're not going to think any more or less of me than you do right now. Gus, and your bevy of questions. Is there a statute of limitations on back pay? Possibly decades, definitely not decades. I believe most wage cases are capped at 6 or 7 years, depending on what it is. And depending on what it is, if you're talking about a premium or something that's contractually based, it may be less than that based on the language in the specific contract. I know you long enough. I don't know what your affinity is with dropping these crazy questions in the middle of a Facebook Live, especially when you call me whenever the hell you want me. So, Gus, whatever this is about, get on the phone and talk to your rep or give me a call tomorrow, please. Will hazard pay, this is another doozy, Gus. Will hazard pay ever be a thing during blizzards, hurricanes, etc., even if it lasts for a day or two? So you've been through 77 blizzards and hurricanes in your years, Gus, and you chose tonight to drop this question. Considering how difficult it was to maintain hazard pay during the pandemic when people were getting sick and dying, I don't know, but you just settled your contract. Was Gus on your committee for Mandel?
No, he had
Another
family issue.
Okay, so Gus, you should have been at the table. You could ask Roseanne all these questions and made Joe lose more hair than he already has. Will travel pay ever increase, especially during times like this? $3 a day as it stands. As I said, Gus, I answered that question 3 people ago with Dawn Brander. But considering we just signed a 5-year contract with your company without a reopener, there's no way to mandate that change. Leo Rodriguez, I don't know where Leo works, but the union has to do something about one person working alone in the department for 3 or 4 hours, and Kronos is a problem.
Stop it, champ.
516?
I get that, but what's the
511?
fact that Kronos is still a problem because it was hacked? Is that what we're talking about?
Because it's scheduling
Him to be by himself.
Oh, so it's the scheduling part of Kronos. Okay. So who has Mr. Rodriguez?
He didn't write his story here.
I think he's
Leo,
Hicksville?
if you could potentially write your store in the comments right now, if you're still here watching, I will make sure your delegate calls you tomorrow. And if you put it in and I can see it, I'll tell you what extension to dial so you can leave them a voicemail. Are there any other questions? Anything has come in? All right. So those are the questions for the day. Now I will turn it over to your Secretary Treasurer and EVP to award some gift certificate winners. Thank you very much for your time. Not too bad tonight, an hour and 10 minutes, give or take. Did you just shut it off, or did you just change the view? I just changed it. Okay, next messing with the program. So, all right, thank you very much. You guys are up.
This is it, this is it.
I think we're just going to do Facebook Live.
Thank you, sir.
To the members.
They should just get-
For the site.
Yeah, but we're not going to put them in there. We're gonna put them in the box.
No, we'll just take their names. I
Okay.
already put them
Okay,
down.
okay. Okey-dokey. Okay. These are,
You wanna just say those two?
how much are they, $25?
Oh, yeah, they're all 25, I'm sorry.
And we have 13.
You have 13 of them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick a bunch of numbers, names rather, and Joe's gonna read them. So we'll start with 1.
Okay. Stacy Gonzalez, P-Pod 199. Congratulations, Stacy. Deb Athens, Key Food 12. That's Dan's, right? In Staten Island?
There you
There you
go.
go. Congratulations, Deb. Hope you got your gear you were looking for. Ashley Boyd, Stop and Shop 562. Ashley, congratulations. Farmingville in the house. Greg Finch, Stop and Shop 510. Congrats, Greg. Getting applause out here. Yeah, you guys can clap. You know, these guys are winning money. All right, hey, easy, easy. Angelo
Too much.
Maracu, King Cullen 17. Congratulations, Angelo.
Oh, a lot of regulars here.
Jeannie Bergamine, Stop and Shop 553. Congratulations, Jeannie. Robert Jean O'Kane, King Cullen 19. BJ, congratulations. Lillian Ruiz, Pickwick 16. Lillian, congratulations, Lillian. Carlos Sanchez, Stop and Shop 563. Congratulations, Carlos. Found out where Leo Rodriguez works, 546. Congratulations, Leo.
Go see Leo.
Vanessa Villacres. I don't know if I spelled this, if I pronounced it right. ShopRite 293. Vanessa. Congratulations. Two more. This one? Whoops.
And one more. Last one.
Kelly Carr. Store 539, Stop and Shop. Congratulations, Kelly. What's up, Kelly? And Amanda Schmidt, Stop and Shop 2565. Amanda Schmidt from 2565. Congratulations, Amanda.
Those two.
Yeah. Oh, no. Also,
No.
the last two winners we have are Peter Hoffman, Stop and Shop 516. Yes. And Yave Infante. Yave from Wild by Nature 204.
They're in the house.
My bad. Here you go.
And that's, congratulations, bro. Pete,
Thank you for coming, guys.
Thank you.
you got those next, right? Okay,
Come out in the snow
that's right.
on a bike.
Okay, motion to adjourn? Alicia Lastumbo, wow, she shot her hands way up there. And,
Second by Yahweh.
and seconded by Yahweh Infante. Thank
All
you.
in favor?
All in favor,
Aye.
opposed?
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Have a great night.